Hi, this is part two of the little tour of my study. Believe it or not, a lot of people said they wanted to see the rest of it. So here we go. As before, it's a lot of maps and art and posters, and I'll explain those as I go along. This doesn't look like much, but when my first book, Tangier, came out, our youngest son bought a copy early on and then gave me the receipt as a Christmas present, which I really appreciated. This is a poster from Montmartre, a tall hill at the northern part of Paris. And on one slope of the hill, they still have grapevines, just like they did for centuries and centuries. And every year they still harvest the grapes and make wine. And they make a poster celebrating that every year. Here is they've included the old nightclub for artists, the Le Panagile, where Picasso and other artists of the early 20th century used to go very often. Le Panagile means the agile rabbit. And here's the rabbit himself dancing around with a bottle of wine. This was done by a colleague of mine in Morocco, and it shows her disgust with me as I am ready to work right at 8 o'clock. She complains that I even come in early, so my tea is ready at 8. And I'm ready to go, and I'm asking her for a file already, and she says, "Zoot, can't you see I'm still drinking my coffee? What are you doing starting at 8 o'clock sharp?" Anyway, so she made this for me and gave it to me years ago. And along here, more posters and some postcards that we framed. You can see a map of the United States. And our older son gave me these masks of comedy and tragedy, kind of reflecting the fact that back 100 years ago I was a theater major in college. It's Dr. Evil again. $1 million. And here too, now, it's time for the commercial. This part of the program is brought to you by my previous two books, Tangier and Madagascar, both available online and through Powell's Books, and they're based on my experiences in those two countries where we lived for several years back when I was in the Foreign Service. And some CDs and other junk. And right here is a print I got at the National Gallery in Washington. First time I went overseas, I had been working for a congressman for a number of years and had saved up all my money and bought a bicycle and went kicking around France for 6 months. And this reminded me so much of scenes I had seen in the countryside. This one in France, somebody taking care of their garden, clouds, and if you can see, probably can't, the leaves are blowing on a windy summer day. A map of southeast England. Here's London here, English coastline. I used this on that same trip. They're marvelously detailed, and I'd pull this out of my saddlebag every few minutes sometimes to see what route I was on. The nice thing about a bicycle is you don't have to stick to the main roads at all. You can take the smallest roads you want as long as you have a good map. And this was the one I used. Computer, printer, usual stuff. I've always had a real interest in the ancient Romans. So here's a replica of a statue to the ancient Roman goddess Ceres, who was the goddess of harvests and fruit and grain. And it doesn't look like much, and I guess in a realistic sense it isn't much, but I was talking to an elderly friend back many years ago about my interest in the ancient Romans, and she went to the back of her house and came out with this and said it was part of the handle of an ancient Roman pot, and she gave it to me. And of course, there are laws and customs about how to deal with archaeological artifacts. And I felt kind of guilty about it. She just handed it to me. I felt really kind of alarmed, like she pulled a pin out of a hand grenade and handed it to me. And I thanked her. But when I came back up to Portland, I called a Portland Art Museum and asked if I should turn this into a museum or something like that. And the fellow on the line asked me where was it found. And I told him that she told me that her husband, back in the early 50s, the two of them had been sitting in a bench in the Roman Forum in Rome, and he had just started digging with his hands and went down a few inches and pulled this out. And he said, "Well, you can't tell me exactly where it came from or how far down it was, can you?" I said, "No, I can't." And he said, well, it's of no archaeological value then. He said, go ahead and keep it. I felt much better after that. I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is a little pastel by a friend, Diane Hoffman, an artist friend, lives in Oregon City. Another pastel by another friend, Rebecca Becker, I've always liked. Here is a portrait a Sri Lankan colleague of mine did. Years ago, I had helped him on some small matter, and he was a very talented artist, and afterwards, so I'll show my gratitude, I'll make a portrait of you, and so he did. Can't see this much. This is a little print from Pakistan of people playing polo or something. And this is another artwork from Diane. I've had this, gosh, over 40 years now. And she calls it a modern tapestry. She says old tapestries had to do with unicorns and the king out on a hunt. And she says nowadays it would be lists of artificial ingredients in candy wrappers. And the wrappers look so good, I've had people actually come up and touch them to make sure they weren't real. What else have I got? The tour is nearly over. Here's a map of France that, as I have done some of my stories, I've occasionally referred to this map. And so that's about it. This is the part of the study that I didn't cover last time. I hope it's of interest to you. This is really a special place for me. My family's indulged me by really letting me have this as my little area of the house. And I fixed it up just like I want. I'm very comfortable working here and enjoy just being in here. So thanks for your patience with this, and I hope you enjoyed the little tour. Bye-bye.